Imagine me, 6 years old, maybe 7, but I think I was 6. And I loved Buzz Lightyear. Little 6-year-old me at Disney World in one of those stores where everything is massively overpriced and they have souvenirs that kids are like, Mommy, Daddy, I want it. But I knew what I was looking for when I went into that store. I walked past every shiny piece of plastic to the little costume section in the back. And there on the wall was hanging my dream possession, a Buzz Lightyear costume. Now, there wasn't anything terribly special about the Buzz Lightyear costume other than I really wanted to just dress up like Buzz Lightyear. I go up to the costume and I start looking for the one that's going to fit me. I'd been saving up birthday money as well as coins that I'd collected from the floor in the grocery store so that I could buy this Buzz Lightyear costume. My parents had already opened up a savings account with me. They were doing a good job teaching me how to save with money. And I had never, to this point, pulled any money out to buy something. My mom was of the mindset that if I had money in the savings account, that she needed to teach me that it stays there and to never pull any of it out for anything. If I remember right, my dad was the one who suggested that you could take the money you saved up and use it to buy the costume, since the price of the costume exceeded the standard allowance, if you will, that we had for a souvenir on this trip. While I may not remember the exact amount, I'm pretty sure I had to put forward about $40 of my own money in order to buy the costume. And man, was I dead set on it, despite the fact that my dad asked me a couple times, "Are you sure?" He gave me a couple options, a couple of different things I could do with the money. He's like, you could save it. You could save it, and once you get enough, you could put it in a money market, and it'll grow quite a bit by the time you're an adult. Alternatively, you could invest that money for college and let it grow a lot more. And you could do so much with the money that otherwise will go to this costume. My little boy's brain that was underdeveloped didn't see the value in any opportunity when it came to investing or saving and to holding the money for a great deal of time. I saw a Buzz Lightyear costume, and that's what I wanted. I ultimately chose the Buzz Lightyear costume, and it did bring me a great deal of joy. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, I'm going to have Amanda put the picture of me wearing the Buzz Lightyear costume over here. You can just see in my eyes how much the costume meant to me and how much joy I got out of it. Now, even though it was my day-to-day life, I was somewhat oblivious to the fact that I was growing like a weed and would very quickly grow out of the Buzz Lightyear costume. So the joy that it gave me didn't last very long. But I saved it and treasured it. It's still in the bottom of my summer clothes bin, my little Rubbermaid tub that's full of clothes for, storing the summer clothes in the wintertime so that I don't fill up the dresser or the closet with everything that I have to wear. But it did get me thinking when I outgrew the costume. I remembered what my dad tried to tell me. If you would have invested it, the money could have grown into something more. For example purposes, let's assume that I didn't buy the Buzz Lightyear costume. Instead, I invested in something that made around 4%, like a high-interest savings account or a money market account. And let's assume I left the money alone in there for 20 years. Well, if I did my math right, that would only give me about $88. Granted, the money doubled, but it took 20 years to double. Now, to my little 6 or 7-year-old brain, $88 was a lot of money, and there's a lot that I could do with it. I went around on Amazon and I could have gotten this knife set or even this little TV. It's a small TV and it's not the greatest quality, but still it's a TV that we could put somewhere in the house. And I probably would be able to enjoy the knives or the TV for a longer period of time than I ended up enjoying the Buzz Lightyear costume. And arguably, both of them would give me more utility. The knives definitely would be, even though they're not a utility knife. But what if I would have invested the money for college? If my parents would have opened up an ESA or a 529 and invested the money in something that averaged around 10% over a span of 20 years, well, that would have given me $293. Knowing how expensive tuition is, that nearly $300 probably wouldn't have gone very far. I bet you I could have gotten 1 or 2 of my engineering textbooks my freshman year with that. And I probably would have used the money before 20 years transpired. I had already graduated by the time I turned 26, but the example still stands. I could have taken that $40 and turned it into nearly $300, or been a little bit more conservative and gotten myself a little TV. The story served as my very first exposure to opportunity cost, a concept that we're going to tackle in more depth under the main topic.